Good morning. I'm going to give you a couple of warnings before I start this video. One, there will be tears and I will cry because that is my body's response to any form of emotion. Happy, sad, angry, whatever. My body just produces tears. It's been a long-standing joke in my family because my body has done this my entire life. It's incredibly frustrating sometimes because I just want to get what I want to say out and I can't because my body's like, do you know what? We're just gonna cry and that's what's gonna happen. So I have tried to do this video several times over and have been reduced to tears because there is emotional content. Some of it's happy, some of it's memories, and some of it is a bit rubbish and a bit sad. However, we are going to persevere because I really would like to talk about it. And the subject of this video is, well, I'm not going to say, well, it is a little bit heavy, isn't it? It's about being dissatisfied with everything. It's not heavy, no, but there's a lot of personal...
Yeah, but it's not a heavy subject. A
lot of personal stuff in there and a little bit of trigger warning about loss and grief. So it's doing it already. It already. So please bear with me. It's not my usual sort of topic. I do not have knitting. I have a latte, but I don't have knitting. So I have had this channel for 4 years. It's not gained sort of hardly any traction. I haven't even got 300 subscribers. My videos don't get a lot of views. And when I sort of started this channel, I wanted it to be a safe space, for want of a better word. I just found out that I was chronically ill. I'd lost several jobs, one after the other, before being diagnosed with this chronic illness because I kept having to have sick time, because I kept getting sick, not realising that I had a chronic illness. This was after years and years of stress, years and years of working 70 plus hours a week, and then years after having children and trying to raise 3 children very close in age alone after a relationship breakdown, which was, the breakdown was a good thing because the relationship was not healthy, but the struggle of doing it all alone, and I was pregnant. My son was 12 weeks old and I was already pregnant again because the relationship was very, very bad. I'm not going to sit here and sort of slag off the kid's dad because he is involved in their life and he is much better now than he was years ago. But at that time it was hard and I did it on my own. I did the rest of a twin pregnancy while I had a young baby. I had a C-section and looked after my 11-month-old with my 2 newborns, mostly alone. My mum stayed with me for the first 2 weeks to help, but after that I was mostly alone doing a lot of it. I had a little bit of help from different family members, which I was so very grateful for. So I don't want to sit here and seem like I was ungrateful, but it was very turbulent. And then we got into a sort of a routine and everything was good. The kids started, like my oldest started school and the twins were at nursery, so I had a little bit of free time. I looked into going back into work because while they were at school, in school hours, and I actually got my old job that I had before I had the kids back. But because I couldn't work 70 hours anymore, because I couldn't do extra hours, I wasn't treated very well because I couldn't do what they, even though knowing that I had children and knowing that I could only work part-time because I had children and I was alone, they still expected more and more and more of me. And I didn't have childcare. And then I met James.
Hello.
And see? And again, emotion. So just ignore the leaky eyes, it's fine. Things got better. Got a lot better, didn't they?
Yeah. I like to fix it.
And COVID hit. We'd already had a lockdown. And then we came out of the lockdown and I met James. And then we had another lockdown. And James moved in. And it was supposed to be temporary. And 5 years later, he's still here and we're engaged and we're getting married. But in between James moving in and now, I got incredibly sick. And I do mean incredibly sick. I was very, very poorly. I got COVID and was incredibly sick with it. And I just didn't get better. The symptoms of COVID went away, but then other things started happening to my body that I didn't really understand. And I couldn't do things anymore. I'm okay, the crying will stop in a second, just ignore it, it's fine. I couldn't do things anymore. I wasn't the active person. So before I got sick, I'd go running, I'd play with the kids, I'd run around lifting them on my shoulders, and we'd play football, we'd play tag, we'd play just everything. Every sort of day, I'd get all of the housework done. Wouldn't be an issue, wouldn't even think of it. I'd do my hair and makeup, everyone would have baths every day, everyone would be, like, everything was going well. We did a lot of stuff, we were very active. Even during lockdown, you were allowed to go out for a walk a day, so we lived near a beach, so we'd go down there, we'd play games on the beach and run along and search for shells and everything. And then after I got sick, I couldn't do any of that anymore. I could barely walk around my house. I couldn't do the long walks, I couldn't play the games anymore, I couldn't hold down a job. I lost my job because I kept being off sick, and sometimes I was even too sick. And I can understand why I lost it, because sometimes I was even too sick to call them. I could not literally, some days, lift my head off the pillow. I couldn't contact people. My words wouldn't come out properly. My brain was not working. I was forgetting everything. And I couldn't even remember the simple stuff that you don't think about anymore. I couldn't stand up without falling over. My legs wouldn't do what they were telling them to do, that my brain was telling them to do. The messages, they just weren't going through. I couldn't read. I could sit in front of the TV, but I couldn't take anything in. I couldn't watch it. I genuinely thought I was dying, didn't I?
Yeah.
Obviously I didn't, and I wasn't. But there was just so much going on, and then there was test after test after test after test. And then I'd feel a bit better and have a few days where I would feel normal, or sometimes a couple of weeks. Not normal, I didn't have as much energy as I had before, but I could function, I could do stuff. So I'd apply for another job and I'd get that job, and then I'd get sick again and I'd lose that job, and then I'd apply for another job when I felt better, get a job and get sick again, lose that job. There was one job that I managed to keep, and that was because my boss was amazing for that job, and I would recommend anyone to work there. They're a husband and wife. They own a local, like, fairground, isn't it? A local, yeah. Not fairground, but it's a local small theme park sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I worked in an ice cream parlour there for a season, and they were amazing. They were understanding. They were great, fantastic, brilliant. Understood when I called in because I wasn't well enough. I never got any negativity off them, and in fact they did offer me the job the next season. But in between working there and then, because it was seasonal, the season ending and being offered a job next season, I managed to get a job at quite a large company. And can you just ring Mum and tell her that I'm recording, because she's trying to call me?
Yeah.
I worked for a big company who, again, treated me poorly because they didn't care that I was sick, and they didn't care. But I didn't take the other job back because this one was year round. And I had issues, and then again, I didn't lose my job. I ended up having to quit. Because they were just giving me so much hassle, and by this point I'd got my diagnosis with my chronic illness, and the medical professional had set them like perimeters for I can work but I can't do this and I can't do that, and without fail they made me do the stuff that they had agreed that I wouldn't have to do, like lifting heavy things and moving heavy things and running around and that, which was causing me to have a flare up of my symptoms and making me sicker. So in the end, I didn't have any other option but to leave. You know, that was how it was. It was incredibly wrong. But then 6 months after that, the business failed, went into administration. So regardless, I would have been without a job anyway. And then that was sort of the system of it. So during this time, the only things I could really do was knit and crochet, because they didn't tax me too much. It was simple things. I'd make simple things. It'd just be nice stockinette stuff, or just garter stitch things, and just like plain, I'll use US terminology because that's how I learned, plain double crochet projects or half double crochet projects with not a lot of shaping, not a lot of things, scarves, hats that you cinch at the top, just easy things. And we were finding the more I did that and the more I rested, the less flare-ups I was having. So we sort of had the idea, we didn't think it through much, did we? We had the idea that if I could go self-employed and do craft fairs and make things to sell, maybe that would improve my physical health, because I wouldn't be having this boom bust cycle and overexerting myself all the time, because I could manage to make small things, items and that. And we thought, oh, that'd be great. People do well at the craft fairs. I knew a few people who like made jewellery and they did well at craft fairs and did well in between. And so we thought we'd do that. And I thought, well, maybe I should start a YouTube channel, and I just, you know, talk about what I've made. I've always liked the podcast ever since I saw my first one. I've always liked the podcasts and things like that. And I thought, well, maybe if I do that as well, that might sort of, I could maybe, not a full-time thing. I know it's really difficult to earn full-time money, and the way my brain was working wasn't like I was going to design any patterns or anything, because my brain just simply wasn't allowing for that at that time. And this was in 2022. So we had a talk about it and we agreed, we decided to do that. So that's what I did. And the government gives you a 12-month start-up period, which is what I applied for and I got. And it just didn't go according to plan. I wasn't making many sales. I wasn't doing well financially, but my health was improving, wasn't it?
Yes.
I was having less flare-ups. I was having less days. I was still having some days where I couldn't really get out of bed, but I could knit from bed and I could crochet from bed and I could do that. And I sort of managed to expand my skills. I was getting less brain foggy. I was really doing really well, especially mentally with the neurological issues that were happening. They were getting less and less. The physical stuff was still difficult, but again, I attribute a lot of that to the weight gain that I experienced when I could no longer be active. Because while those few years while I was sick, I gained an incredible amount of weight, didn't I? Because I couldn't move, I couldn't wear anything off. And I've never been a sort of like a teeny tiny, really, really skinny person, but I've never been overweight either. This was the first time in my life of dealing with being overweight, and I wasn't used to it. And no one tells you how uncomfortable it is, even now, when I can be a bit more active. As long as I pace, things are fine. as long as I pace things, for the most part, I do have the occasional days when I can't do anything, don't I?
Yeah.
But for the most part, as long as I pace, things stay steady. Not too many physical improvements, but things stay steady. The physical improvements will hopefully come with more time. But I found I was getting, when that year ended and I sort of was going out on my own, I found I was getting incredibly stressed, which brought back the brain fog, it brought back the flare-ups, it brought back everything. And I sort of spoke to my doctor. I'd had my diagnosis, but they hadn't sort of, there was no next step. There was, oh, this is what's wrong. And then I was just left to try and figure it out with myself. Stay mobile, but not too mobile. Make sure you're always doing something, but don't do too much. Eat this, but don't eat that. Oh no, you should be eating that, but don't eat this. And it's incredibly confusing, because every different professional you see tells you a different thing. So you don't know which way is up. And then you see things online, or you see things, or other people. And I swear, if I get one more person that says to me, just listen to happy music, or just go for a walk, or just push through it, I'm sorry, but you can't with this. If the more you push, the worse it gets. That is what happens. That is why it's called chronic. It is there forever. You have periods where it's not as bad, and you have periods where it's absolutely awful. But there is no cure. It is there forever. So that is just what I have to learn to live with. It took me a long time to come to terms with that as well, didn't it? Yeah. And what people don't tell you is the self-hatred that comes with not being able to do what you could do before. And the fact that you constantly gaslight yourself and blame yourself and think of yourself as useless, and this hatred, absolute hatred that comes up. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent again, because also that what happened with this illness is that all the things I sort of masked and hid growing up, my inability to fit in, my inability to, my hyper-focusing, my what I labelled as weirdness, because I didn't know about any of these divergencies that we can get. I found myself no longer able to mask these things, and that was another thing I didn't know how to deal with, wasn't it? Yeah. And singular trains of thought are not something that I experienced. They've never been anything that I've experienced, but I got incredibly good at filtering out all these hundreds of millions of thoughts going through my mind all at once, every day, all day. And now I do not have that ability. So there will be tangents, just to let you know. But yeah, going back to this chronic illness thing and my crafting, I found myself getting very stressed, because it was like, I'm not earning money. I'm not making fast enough. I'm not making things that everybody likes, and this, that and the other. And it's so stressful. And I did that for a few years, didn't I? Yeah. Sorry, my ear needs to pop now. Why has that happened? I did that for a few years. And then I stopped for a while and started job searching again. And I don't blame any of the employers, but no one wants to hire me because I'm always sick. You know, I'm always sick. I'm not fully flexible because we don't have childcare. And the way the job market is at the minute, there's not really anything that is willing for me to start after 9 o'clock in the morning and finish before 9 o'clock at night. They're just not willing, are they? It's just the companies that I have applied for, they want me to start at 7, or they want me to finish at nearly midnight. And I have children, and James has a job, and his job takes precedent because he's been there for 23 years. It's stable, he's got an income, he has job security. So his is the priority, isn't it? Yeah. And that's not, I don't want anyone to say, well, that's not fair. That's not, it's incredibly fair. It is incredibly fair. His is a stable income, and that is what we need. We need that stability. I just want to be able to supplement that income. And I quite foolishly thought that making and selling crocheted bits would do that. And for some people it does, but it didn't work for me. It hasn't worked for me. And I've lost the joy in things. And I think sort of what I'm trying to say as well is that being creative as a child, my nanny and granddad, they were my safe space, and they created an environment of creativity and joy that I will forever be grateful for. But life, society, whatever, spent years stamping that creativity and that joy out of me. There's no other way to put it. Yeah. School stopped me from being creative. Yeah, you'd have these tech lessons, but that was more of how to learn a skill to become a productive member of society, rather than for enjoyment, for creativity's sake. It was more, no, we're going to make a lamp because that's productive. Yeah. No, we're not going to talk about just making clothes. We're going to talk about making clothes and scale them to mass produce them to sell them, not making clothes for us, for personal use. We weren't being taught that. We weren't being taught to cook for the ability to cook for our families or to cook for each other or for enjoyment. We were learning to cook to then scale those recipes to mass produce them and sell them. And I do think that that is a big issue with schools today. Yeah. Because they're not teaching you the day-to-day things to be able to function. And that started when I was young. I remember in primary school, we had first, middle and high school then. In first school, which was reception till year 3, in my area, we were taught to cook. We were taught domestic science and everything. But then when I went from first school to middle school, it was like the curriculum changed. There was no domestic science. There was none of that. It was all design and technology for the workplace or for mass production, scale production, things like that, instead of enjoyment or day-to-day functionality, you know. And I do think that is something that kids should be taught, because when I moved out of my family home and started in the workplace and everything, I had no idea. I didn't know about taxes. I didn't know about running a house. I knew a house needed to be cleaned, but I didn't know about the extra bits that people don't just tell you about it. Like I didn't know certain things that needed maintaining, that I had to learn from living there. And if I'd had that thing about how to iron clothes properly, or how to budget a household budget, because you don't get taught that either. And I know to some extent it should be the parents teaching their kids that, but for a long time my mum was a single mum and she was at work all the time, you know. And then she met my stepdad, and who is my dad. I call him my dad. He's my dad. He's always been there for me. We didn't always get on growing up. There was a bit of resentment there, but he's my dad. He's always been there, always. But they didn't sort of, by the time Mum met him, he was under the impression that I just knew all this stuff. And Mum was under the impression that maybe Nanny and Grandad had shown me the stuff, and Nanny and Grandad were under the impression that Mum was showing me the stuff. So no one showed me this stuff. And I didn't know about taxes. I didn't know about how to keep house. I didn't know how to look after children, because I had no experience with children. I had no experience with babies. When my mum and my dad met, my younger brother was already born and he was 4 years old. So I had never had any experience from sort of newborn to 4. I had no idea. I had no clue. So when I had my own kids, no one told me anything. No one told me what to expect. Everyone was talking about labour. Oh, and how babies are so cute and they're so quiet and they're so easy. They are not. I love my kids. I love them to bits. I would die for them. I would crawl across broken glass for them. I love them. But being a parent is not easy. It's not. And I love that now people are more honest about how difficult it can be. It's one of the biggest blessings. It's a privilege. I am very privileged to have my children, and I will forever be grateful to have my children. I love them. But it's not easy. It is not easy. There is so much to remember and so much to do, and you're never taught how to do, or the myriad of things that need doing every day just to keep your kids alive, let alone thriving and all the extra stuff. And I always thought it'd be lovely. I'd change a few nappies, do the feeds, and play with my kids. They don't tell you about all the other stuff, which people should. They really, you should. When you decide to have children, you should make sure that you know. You definitely know. And if people tell you about how easy it is, I mean, they were telling me it was lovely. And then I gave birth and I had my son, and then I got, ha ha ha, welcome to hell. Because they don't warn you. That was the comment I got off one of my friends who had had a baby a year before me. She never told me how hard that first year is. She never told me anything. She only told me the good stuff. And it was such a shock to my system. I've gone off tangent again, haven't I?
I'm going to chime in with, I've got nieces, nephews, godkids. I've dated women with kids before. So I came into a relationship fully, I know how bad it was.
Yeah.
No. Even fully prepared for it. I had no idea how bad it was going to be.
We have 3 very, very, very high energy children. All 3 of them have the energy that I always had before I got sick. And I was a very energetic child. I was a very energetic teenager. I was a very energetic young adult. I did loads. And my children are like that. They are very, very energetic. They do not stop from the minute they wake up until they fall asleep. They don't stop. And I think that is nearly all kids. And that is a sign of healthy kids. However, being an auntie and spending time with kids and then being able to send them back, or being a friend of someone with kids and only seeing them for several hours and then you don't see them again for a week, you don't realise how energetic children are all the time, or how energetic healthy children are all the time. I know when my kids are sick because they've got no energy, and I know when they're coming down with something because they'll start falling asleep, and I'm like, oh, okay, let's stock up on what we need because they're coming down with something, they're falling asleep, they're doing this, they're doing that, or they didn't sleep well last night. My kids sleep incredibly well. I am incredibly lucky there. They have slept incredibly well since they were about 4.
Yeah.
Before that, they would each take it in turns to wake up in the night, and they'd each get a few hours sleep a night and I'd get none. But as they settled into a nice sleep routine, my kids, they sleep really well, don't they?
Yeah.
For the most part. They do get up incredibly early.
Yeah.
But they do sleep very well. And I know a lot of people don't get that, and I am incredibly lucky for that. But the focus on children, children get to a certain age, and I'm finding it already with the kids. They got to, well, weren't even 7, they got to like 5, and they are expected to sit down for hours and hours and learn and listen and write and all of this. And it's just like, where are they being kids? Where is this? Because the pressure was on them immediately as soon as they started school. Hang on a second. Sorry about that. My ear needed to pop and I didn't want to pop it on the screen. So I found that from very early on in school life, kids aren't allowed to be kids anymore. Like there's so many rules that they're introduced to that I wasn't introduced to until I was a bit older. And the focus again from a very early age is on being productive rather than enjoyment. And I don't want what happened to me to happen to my children. This beating down of creativity. I had a few good teachers that allowed me to be creative. There was a couple in particular in high school. My English teacher, she was amazing, and she really did encourage creativity in writing and creative writing. She was very, very good. My maths teacher, again, who you would think would be like the least creative, she was a maths teacher, but she still encouraged creativity. She was great. I had an English teacher in middle school, and again, he introduced us to fantasy. And even though we were only supposed to read a chapter of the book, when I asked him if I could borrow the book and take it home because I wanted to read the whole book, he allowed that. And that was fantastic. That was amazing. That it really encouraged a love of reading. And what I'm finding is that schools are, or I don't know, I'm finding that certain teachers they're pushing certain books and not others, aren't they? They get the more creative, the fantasy and all of that during like World Book Day and things like that, and their free book for the library, but their actual books that they're given to read, they're very stilted and not overly, they don't breed a love of the storytelling. And I think that is a shame. That's a shame, because classrooms aren't always the best place to learn. I will send my kids to school, that's great, but there are other things that they should learn, and I don't want them to have that joy of creating and being creative stamped out of them. It's not just like the schools and the curriculums, sometimes it's other kids as well, and they make fun of you for being creative. They make fun of you. My kids have been made fun of because I've hand knitted them hats and scarves because they've asked me to, and the kids have said, oh well, she's only doing that because they're poor, because people don't realise how much knitting and crochet as a hobby actually costs. Even when you use cheaper materials, it still costs a lot. You're still looking at quite a bit of money, when the hat that they've probably got from Primark was probably a quarter of the price, but they're saying that we just make it because we can't afford to buy it, and that isn't the case either. I make things because I like them. I have bred a love of homemade things in my children, because that's how I've always loved homemade stuff. They love that, but then they feel like they then can't wear these things to school because the other kids take the mick out of them because they're wearing handmade things that they wanted to wear because they like it. I just think sort of there's a lot of really bad stuff going on in the world that I'm not really going to touch on at the minute. All I just want to say is that it's incredibly wrong what is happening. I think it is awful and evil, and I'm sorry if you don't agree with my opinion there, and if you think that what is going on is right, that you're entitled to your opinion. But I'm entitled to mine, and I think it's wrong, and I just think it's immoral, it's wrong, and I hate this. I hate it. I hate the hatred. I hate it, and I hate what is happening and all the things that are coming on. We're discovering sort of in the news and that people have said before and been sort of laughed at or sent away. I just think, from what I'm hearing, and I'm probably not getting the entire story, but I don't need the entire story to know that young people being exploited is wrong. People being murdered is wrong. It's wrong. All of it's wrong. I don't agree with any of it, and it's horrible. I'm not going to touch on it too much, just other than to say it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong, and it's scary, and it terrifies me about what world I am bringing my kids into. It's so scary. But I just... I'm going a really long way of saying this, because I find it hard to say what I actually want to say, because it makes me cry. I would like my channel to be a safe space. I would like my channel to be a place of joy and a love of creativity, arts, crafts, fibre arts, any of it. I would like to bring that back. And we have seen a resurgence in sort of knitting and that over the last sort of half a decade. But there is there is a focus on using expensive yarns. That's a running theme, and hand-dyed yarns and everything, and they are expensive, quite rightly so, because a lot of work goes into them, but they are not affordable for everyone. And I've seen a lot of gatekeeping of people who use acrylic yarn, and looking down on people who use acrylic yarn. Yes, it's not the best for the environment, but sometimes that is the only thing that people can afford. And I think that we should breed the creativity, not the gatekeeping. I think that if someone can afford acrylic yarn, then they should be allowed to use that acrylic yarn without being judged for it. If someone prefers acrylic yarn and they want to use that acrylic yarn and they choose to use it because they prefer it, they shouldn't be judged for it. Conversely, people shouldn't be judged for using more expensive yarn. I'm happy for people that have that expensive yarn, and I look there and it is a bit of jealousy, but not in a bad way, because I love that they've got that yarn. That's great for them. I love that for them, but I want it too, and I can't afford it. But I don't resent the fact that they've got it and I've not, because I can watch these videos and see all this lovely pretty yarn and watch it and see it, and the community is very, very inclusive. It is, you know, whether you're skinny or fat or whatever, there are things for everyone to make, and I absolutely love that. I don't like the money gatekeeping and the people who say, well, I'll only use, I've seen it over the years. There's less of it this year, I've noticed, but like, I won't use acrylic yarn, it's cheap and tacky. Well, I'm sorry, but I can afford acrylic yarn. I can't afford anything more expensive, so I will be using acrylic yarn. If I get a treat yarn, a more expensive yarn for my birthday, which I do sometimes, James kindly bought me some slightly more expensive, still got acrylic in it, but they're blends, for my birthday and for Christmas, because there was sales on and we picked it up in the sales, didn't we? Yeah. And that has allowed me to have some more yarn. I haven't used any of it yet because I want to finish what I'm doing. I want my channel, whether I get loads of viewers or not, that's irrelevant. I'm not following views or anything. But I would like my channel to be a safe space for anyone who wants to do anything creative. I want to show all of it. I don't want to sit there. I will still do a formal podcast because people do like that. They like the little show and tell. But I would like to do informal, like what I'm doing now, but not talking about heavy stuff or moaning or whinging. More me. So me thinking, oh, I've never tried that pattern before. I want to make one of those. I've never done any of these techniques before. I'm going to make loads of mistakes. And instead of saying, oh, I can't post that because it's got mistakes in it, or I can't post that because the lighting isn't fantastic, or I can't post that because it doesn't look professional. Well, guess what? I'm not a professional. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not putting that pressure on me, because I record and I do videos every day, but I hardly post any of them. Because I'm like, well, that's not good enough. That's a bit rubbish. That's a bit rubbish. And I'm not doing that anymore. I am not doing that anymore. I am going to start posting. I'm going to start videos. I want to learn to sew, and I am going to bring you along with that. Whether you want to watch it, that's your choice. You can just not watch. I might not get any views. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to enjoy it and provide a safe space where people know that they can make mistakes. People know that it's not too late to learn new things. And people know that it's not too late to rediscover the joy and creativity that this society beats out of you. Because it's okay. It's okay not to be productive 100% of the time. It's okay. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to enjoy something that is not going to bring you money. It's okay to enjoy something just for the pure, unadulterated joy of that thing. And that is something that I have had to try and unlearn over the last half a decade, because I have hated myself because I am not productive all the time. I have really, really looked down on myself because I cannot hold down a job, because I keep getting sick all the time. Because guess what? My illness is chronic, and the chronic part of that means it's always there. It's always there. I don't look sick. I look overweight and like someone who's lazy. I am not. I am sick. That is what happens. Sickness isn't always seen. It's not always visible. But I would like to make my space, a place where people can forgive themselves, where they can stop holding themselves up and saying, I'm not good enough, because you all are. Everyone is good enough, and everyone should have the right to find some joy and happiness in this life. This life is incredibly short, and it's incredibly difficult, and none of us are getting out of this alive. So we need to learn to bring the joy back and say stuff. I'm trying not to swear because I know some people don't like swearing, but saying, stuff you, I'm doing what I want to do. I'm doing something that makes me happy, because I'm not a drone. I am not someone who is just there to be a number. I am a person, and I have my own wants and needs, and that is okay. I'm also going to forgive myself for the things that I can't do. And I'm going to recommend that other people do that too. Because I think it's incredibly important to enjoy what life you have. I want to bring back the happiness and the joy that I had as a child with my nanny and granddad, painting garden ornaments, painting pictures, colouring, making Play-Doh and playing with it, doing salt dough, making Christmas decorations, knitting and crocheting and spending time with them, doing stuff like that. Doing the garden. I used to help my granddad with the garden, and they used to grow fruits and vegetables in their back garden, and you'd go out and pick it that day, and they'd cook it and you'd eat it then and there. Or if you were like me, you'd just pick it and eat it while you were picking the others, and you'd eat some and you'd help yourself to it. And I was never unhealthy. I rarely ever got sick. And I think we need to get back to that sort of lifestyle. And we need to stop focusing on how much can I buy? How much can I afford? How much money am I making? I need to make more than that person. I need to be worthwhile. I need to be earning a high wage. It is hard because things cost a lot of money now, and society is ran in a way, it's capitalism. It's ran in a way that we are taught to consume, but we don't need to. All we need is what we need, with a few wants on top of that. I'm not saying people shouldn't have treats. They shouldn't have. The whole point is being happy. If buying a really expensive dress that looks beautiful is going to make you happy, and you have the money to do that, then do it. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is people are consuming without having the joy in it, because they feel like that's what they have to do. We have to work to earn this money to buy these nice things. And some of these nice things I don't even like, but I'm going to have them because society or the adverts or whatever, what I'm seeing on social media is telling me that I need to want them, that I should want them, that I need to have them. And if I don't have them, then I'm not good enough. And I feel like we need to step away from that. I feel like I've had enough of that. I've had enough of feeling not good enough because I can't afford things, because I'm not working a full-time job like I was before, because I've not been well enough. That's something that I have struggled with for years, isn't it? I would have meltdowns because I wasn't good enough, because I wasn't bringing money into the house. And like James has said, but you are good enough. You're doing what you can. You are physically doing what you can. You haven't chosen this life. You haven't chosen this to happen to you. And it doesn't really matter that you can't bring this or that in. What matters is that you want to. Is that if you were well enough to, you would be contributing. You would be doing it.
Absolutely. And
I'm contributing my time and energy because I've switched from a working mum to a stay-at-home mum, not through choice. But I love my kids, and I think it is my responsibility to raise them right, you know. And I don't mean like raise them right to be better than someone else's kids, but to raise them to have similar values to what we have. Don't hurt people, don't be nasty, be nice. And more importantly, be happy. Be happy with who you are. It doesn't matter what other people think of you. What matters is what you think of yourself. And basing your own self-worth on what someone else thinks is just going to lead to sadness. It is, because no one is going to think you're better than them. They're not, are they? You need your own self-worth, and you need that self-worth to be coming from you and not someone else. That's my opinion anyway. So I'm not saying that I'm right. This is just how I feel. And from going forward with my channel, I mean, I have 299 subscribers. I don't have a massive following or anything, but I would like this to be a place where I'm bringing the joy and not the stress. I'm bringing the happiness and not the desire to consume, or the pressure to consume, or the pressure to have what I have, or the pressure of me wanting to have what other people have. I don't want that for me. I think that route is just going to lead to more unhappiness. I want to say I'm giving up social media. I'm still going to post, and I'm still going to follow the people that I follow, but I'm not going to mindlessly scroll anymore, especially on Facebook. I'm not going to mindlessly scroll, and then be jealous of everyone, because people only show you the best bit. They don't show you the worst. They don't. It's very rare, isn't it, for
Yeah.
people to show you the worst. Some people do. And those people are the people I mostly follow, actually, aren't they? The ones I watch regularly are the people that are very real and they tell you when things aren't great as well as when things are. And that's what I like about it. And that's what I want here. I want to take the pressure off being perfect, because perfectionism doesn't really exist, does it?
Nope.
It only exists in your head. Oh, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. I mean, we've got to stop saying that. We've got to start saying that is good enough. It's got a few mistakes in it, but that's what makes it different. That's what makes it perfect for me. I've got a few mistakes.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone can go through life and say they haven't made a single mistake. Everyone makes mistakes, and we need to forgive ourselves for it.
Only human.
Exactly. And I just feel like there's so much going on in society that does warrant being concerned about. That being concerned about the things that we want to bring us happiness, again, should be something that does bring us happiness, and not more stress and concern and worry about, am I doing it right? Am I making enough items? Am I doing things right? Am I making the right things? Do people like what I'm making? Well, I'm the one that's going to be wearing it, so surely it should only matter that I like what I'm making. Don't we think?
Yeah.
So, yes, this is a load of old waffle. There's been some emotion and everything, and about an hour's time to say something that could only really take a few minutes. This is a safe space. Everyone is welcome. I want to bring the joy. I don't want to bring the stress for me or anyone else. So I've taken an hour to say that.
Be nice, but be safe here.
Yeah, be nice, be polite, be nice, be kind to each other. But this is a safe space. If you want to share your makes with me, if you want to share anything really, you can email me, you can message me. I'm on Facebook, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Ravelry. I don't know if you can message on Ravelry, but I'm on Ravelry, I'm on Instagram, all under, most of it is all Spooky Boodles. There are a few different ones, but I do have links in my about thing. I don't know why I'm doing that. That's on the little bit about, because I'm like on the screen, you've got your name and you've got your about bit, and it's there above the videos. There are ways to contact me, or you could send me a comment on a video and just say, you know, I'd like to contact you, but I don't know which one you look at. That's fine. That's fine, because I'll answer. I might be incredibly awkward because I have extreme social anxiety, but I will answer. I just think there's so many bad things going on at the minute that I'd like my channel to be a place of good. And if that resonates with any of you, by all means, you're more than welcome. That being said, I'd like to post most days, because I do film most days. I just don't post it. So it's not going to be professional. It's just going to be me messing about, faffing about, making stuff and telling you how much progress I've made on each thing and whether I'm enjoying the pattern or not. There will be times where you'll see something and then I'll go, oh, I just decided to frog it because it wasn't bringing me joy. And again, that's okay. That's like, you don't always have to have finished objects. I would like to have a homemade wardrobe by the end of the year. Probably not going to happen, because I like to cast on and not finish items. Don't know if anyone else is like that, but I definitely am, aren't I?
Yep. I
change my mind a lot. And again, that's okay. So I'm just going to be me from now on. And I'm a Marmite person. You either love me or you hate me. So we'll find out which, won't we? I hope you all have a great day, guys. I hope you're all happy and healthy. And I will see you soon. Bye.